So this whole talk should be a little break from death by PowerPoint and our LogRhythm stuff. So anyone here interested in blockchain, mess around with like blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, stuff like that? Awesome, awesome. So a little bit about me, Greg Foss. I run the threat research and SecOps teams. And this is one of my little side projects I actually did for something completely unrelated to LogRhythm. And so for some reason they're letting me do this talk here. But they made me put this up. So this is theoretical. This is red team side of things. This is a lot of stuff that you could get in trouble if you do some of these things. So maybe you don't go and do that if you do. You can hear about these things. But essentially, this is a red team perspective of blockchain and a lot of blockchain technologies that are out there. So, choose your own adventure. We have all sorts of different topics that we can look into, and it's all based on items of like how you can game the system, how you can, basically cheat on certain things and earn cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So a lot of it is just little workarounds and stuff like that for a lot of the technologies that are out there. So what do you guys want to hear about first? So we have mining, talking about earning coins through mining. Talk about earning coins using your home network. We talk about crypto dust collection, which is like the little thing I call like for jackpotting faucets, basically, like cryptocurrency faucets. Web development, little tricks and stuff. And then trading and signal groups. So what do you want to talk about first? Mining. Mining? All right. So mining. So mining, anyone here run miners, cloud mining, stuff like that? So first thing you need to know about mining, if you're going to do any sort of mining, they have some calculators to help you kind of determine what your estimated profit is going to be, in a certain period of time. Now, anyone who's actually done mining knows that this is mostly crap. These numbers are not going to add up. This is not how much you're going to make. The difficulty is going to fluctuate. There's all sorts of little things that aren't always added into mining calculators. So even though it says you're going to make about a little over half an ETH every month, it's hit or miss whether you'll actually do that and whether this will actually be sustainable. So likely it's not going to. So just to give you an idea of how the difficulty fluctuates, so over time we're looking at both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so over time, the difficulty goes up very steadily, right? So whatever you invested in, say if you're going to start mining Bitcoin, you have to take into account, in a year, it's going to be, 2 times harder to mine, at the very least probably. And so sometimes you can get around this by going with a coin that, isn't going to fluctuate as much. So like Bitcoin, if you were in a couple years ago mining, you're good. Now it's insanely hard to actually turn profit. Because you'd probably be breaking about even with your power costs right now. So for me personally, I just turned my miner off and have been mining this month. So speaking of miners, this is mine. I've got my little tiny rig at home. 6 GPUs. It keeps my house really warm. That's the other thing with these things. If you run these, there's a lot of pros and cons to mining, right? So first, let's look at some pros. It's fun, it's cool to build one of these. You can use it for like password cracking and all sorts of other stuff too. You have freedom over what coins you can actually mine. So you can target specific coins. You can go for low market cap coins, which that's kind of my ideal coins to go after, because hopefully you get a ton of them and they go up to maybe like 2 cents or something eventually. But then you have some residual income, right? You have this tiny little bit of income coming in, assuming you go after the right coins and don't lose your wallet or anything. Not dependent on third parties. You're contributing to maintaining the network. So it's pretty good little benefits. But there's tons of cons. So a lot of cons with running mining. So significant upfront costs. You have to fork out some money to build a miner, rent space, purchase cloud contracts, stuff like that, whatever route you choose to go. Time investments, you have to maintain it, you have to tweak it, you have to stay on top of it, make sure you're modifying your, essentially how your rig's operating, so you're getting the most out of it. Energy, tons of energy costs, and then the heat produced from it, like in the summertime, it's pretty bad. It's more profitable to just buy the coin right now, given the current prices, depending on how you're mining and stuff like that. And then taxes. Taxes for mining are pretty ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at taxes around cryptocurrency. It is terrifying, so I'm just keeping everything there now. We figure this out a bit better. But there's income costs for all the coins that you mine, and then when you pull it out, there's tax on that as well, which is capital gains. So you have to factor that into your overall cost when you're mining. So what about the cloud? So we looked at on-premise mining. There's cloud options as well. So first, let's see, there we go. So these, over on the left here, are kind of the more well-known services out there that do mining and stuff like that. Be very cautious of these because they're contract-based. A lot of them are scams, like Hashflare. They're a terrible company. Don't ever give them money. But these companies, they promise you these big returns. They use these mining calculators to look like it's very profitable, but in the end, you could probably end up getting screwed. So if you do mess with any of these, don't put a lot of money. Assume everything you put into crypto, you're probably going to lose. So just take that mindset and you'll be happy. Now the other side is infrastructure. So hosted infrastructure like Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, stuff like that. Those are options, but it's not all that profitable. And so, primarily, those are kind of the main ones you'll be looking at if you're looking to do cloud mining, except for these assholes. Those guys. So this actually just happened recently, back in July. So they stopped their service, they disabled contracts, basically screwed over their entire user population. So right here, the other thing too, in order to get money back out, they were forcing people to verify their identity. So these guys are super shady, guaranteed they were selling identity and stuff like that to offset their lost profits from mining. So yeah, be very cautious. None of these companies are US based either. So legally, what are you gonna do? So be very cautious of that. So aside from those guys, let's take a look into what we can do with hosted infrastructure, right? So tried looking into this, and ideally, at the end I found it was actually great for running nodes. So if you're going to run an Ethereum node, stuff like that, it's perfect for that. But if you're going to do actual mining, you're actually going to be using a lot of money. And so my case study here I want to talk about is Google Cloud. If you're on Google Cloud, there's some hosting up there. So Google Cloud, this is my specs for a server that I priced out up there. I just went all out. So for those of you that don't know, when you sign up for Google, when you sign up for Google, you can get $300 of credit to use their Google Cloud platform. So kind of nice little thing. So I wanted to test this out and see how much I could squeeze out of one box in order to do some mining. So right down here, I got 8 GPUs, 8 NVIDIA Teslas. So it would have been $10,000 a month to run it. I was like, well, let's just see how much free credit I can use. And so I tried this, and it didn't go as well as I thought. So it turns out right away, within about an hour of me spinning this up, I got an AUE violation. And so I was like, oh, dang, that's too bad. Whenever you're looking at this. But I noticed I still have almost $300 of credit. So I was like, well, I need to use this, right? I need to do something. So, game on, Google. Let's see how you guys detect this stuff. Let's see what you actually do. So what I ended up doing is I took XMRig, which is a tool for essentially mining Monero. And Monero is one of the privacy coins, so it's a great coin to mine, I think. So I just modified this slightly. I actually removed the dev fee, and then I tweaked the binary so it didn't match on any signatures. And then what I did was I spun up some other servers in different cloud resources. So one, I had my own DNS server, which would just fudge, the actual mining. So instead of going out to the real mining server, it'd go through my proxy server, which goes through TCP tunnel that I set up for this. And so I also set it to mine at much less utilization. So it wasn't just pegging all their GPUs so they don't actually look into it. I was hoping. And so I ran with this and actually made a bit of coin, right? But realistically, so for $300 spent, it ended up being $25 profit. So, not a good investment, not a good investment. But Google has free credits and they don't do very good validation. So there's another thing. No, definitely don't do this. So roasting PowerShell. And I went and got some prepaid gift cards, little Visa gift cards, and I just loaded them with like $20 because you have to have a card to spin up an account and get actual credits for GCP. So I tied these to my little PowerShell profile here, and then I just boom, 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 spun out like tons of these servers. And I gave it like 20 or so of them just to test it and see if my code worked. It worked pretty well. I did all this through VPCs, and I didn't want it's Google, they will find you. So, it was sketchy, still pretty sketchy. So I have the evidence here. But essentially, each one of these was running through the same process. And funny thing is, you can burn through $300 real quick, and you just have it kill right before it gets to that, that point. And then you just have these dead Google accounts, but you have all this crypto. So it actually worked pretty well. But I'm not going to keep doing it. This is my goal. I mean, somebody's like, it's Google, you don't want to mess with Google. So it was fun little adventure in cloud mining and stuff like that. But in general, it's not going to be the most profitable, for sure. So with that, let's go back here and choose another topic. What do you guys want to look at next?
Crypto dust.
Crypto dust, all right. Let's do it. So crypto dust collection. This is just kind of my little term for it. I don't know if there's an official term for this, but anyone here see faucets? Like mess around with mobile faucets, like web faucets and stuff like that. So what faucets are, they're basically, so the mobile ones we'll talk about first, basically these applications where you can go and, click buttons and stuff like that, and whenever you perform actions, you'll actually be rewarded very small amounts of cryptocurrency. So it's like, Litecoin, Ethereum, whatever is out there. The funny part with this is all of these apps that you're seeing up here, they're all developed by like one of 3 developers that do these kind of apps. So they all have the same vulnerability. It's pretty good. This is what they look like. They're all kind of different. They have different little games and stuff behind them. But this one right here, basically when you sign up, you enter your credits or you enter a wallet address and stuff like that. And then you log in, and then you're presented with something like this. Usually it's like multiple buttons or a single button, kind of like this one, where you just click the button and it's like, hey, you get Ethereum or whatever it is. Like this one's Litecoin, so you get some Litecoin when you click the button. It's like the dumbest app ever, but people sit there and just actually do this. And so I was looking at this, I was like, no way, I'm not clicking buttons. I'm gonna write a robot to click my buttons for me. And so I ended up writing a bot. The way I did this was I just intercepted the traffic from these because they all check in with their server with your codes. Basically says, oh, they validated it and stuff like that, and then they return cryptocurrency to you. Problem is some of them have CAPTCHAs. So that was their kind of way of stopping robots and stuff like that. But the funny part is, the way these developers designed this, they just assumed people would be doing this on their phone. So in reality, you can actually intercept the CAPTCHA within the web request. So I just scrape the page, and then I pull the CAPTCHA, and then if it's asking for a CAPTCHA, I just plug it in, and then hit the button and submit it again. And so this is kind of what it looks like. So right here's my little bot just running. I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see what's going on. So this is an Ethereum little farm bot, I called it. And so what you're looking at here is we're authenticating, and then we're asked for a CAPTCHA. So we solve the CAPTCHA and submit it. And then this next one, no CAPTCHA is required, so we just submit. And I randomize the times and stuff like that, so it looks kind of like maybe a person is doing this, I guess. But so you can see it's a little different. You have to vary it a bit based on what their responses come back with and stuff. But you can just let this run for days. Just let it go. And, I don't feel too bad about telling you guys about this because half of these apps are scams. So they don't expect anyone to actually get to the point where they can cash out. So I mean, that's kind of why I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, screw you guys. So I wrote this other script to just check on the status of all my bots. So basically up here you can see all my Ethereum bots, and then Bitcoin, Bitcoin trash, Litecoin. guys. I always, like, people in crypto circles are like, oh. But then at the bottom you can see like how many times it's run and stuff like that. So you can just like let this thing run and just constantly simulating solving these applications basically. And so it actually works on some of them. So some of them, like, I got a little payout, you know, it's very small amounts of currency, but you're spending nothing to do this. Like, I'm running these servers already, so why not just let it keep doing something that is actually kind of useful, right? Doesn't work on all of them though. You do get banned occasionally. Some of them have good actual detections, most of them don't. The ones that have good detections are usually the scams too, which is kind of funny. So we're more concerned with making sure they don't give out any crypto if they don't want to. So that's fun. You know, the mobile apps and stuff like that, they have them for Android and iPhone and all those kind of things. And they still have all those same vulnerabilities, so you guys can check them out. So the other way to do faucet collection is through websites. So there's a lot of these websites, like this one's Moonlight Coin, there's Moon Dogecoin and Bitcoin and stuff like that. And so they're the same concept, right? You go just click a button and claim, you know, periodically, so to speak. Now, some of these have some pretty cool, like, you can do like a lottery kind of system and stuff. So every claim that you make, you're entered into their lottery, which you have like less than a 0.002 chance of winning, you know, if you even do the faucet stuff. Because some people actually just throw real crypto in there and stack it. So, but you know, it's a nice little thing. Like if you happen to actually win, like that's pretty cool. But in general, you're just going to be claiming in the same way. These also have miners embedded in the sites too, so you can run mining in the background and things like that. But the problem with these ones is they have real captions. So not like little codes we can just scrape and replay all easily. So you have to actually do something a little tricky in it. So fortunately, there's a bunch of these super like sketchy services out there. Do CAPTCHA, XEvil, image typers, and so what these do is they take the codes from like Google CAPTCHA and stuff, and they actually take it and they send it off to people in like India or something, and just, you know, they solve it and then send it back, and then you just enter the code and submit it with your form. So this works great for like brute forcing applications and stuff too, because you can just script it out and let it run, and it's still solving the CAPTCHAs fully legitimately. So kind of interesting. But then the next piece, the kind of key here to automating the solving of those CAPTCHAs is tying it into what's called faucet collector. So this is a little tool here where you can essentially select like which coins you want to go claim from these faucets. And you just tie this into those CAPTCHA solution APIs, and this goes out and it just sits there all day solving these challenges for you and just collecting crypto. And when you're collecting it, oops, I guess that's in a different section, but there's a micro wallet that you'll want to collect this from. So basically, because it's such small amounts of cryptocurrency that you just want to, you basically can't throw it into a real wallet until you pass a certain amount of coin. So you just want to collect it in these like little micro wallets, essentially. So that's crypto dust collection. Right. What section do you guys want to go to next? About going to do trading and signal groups. So anyone here signal groups and do any trading or anything like that? Doing in the exchanges and things. Okay. So signal groups are interesting. This is a picture of one. They're basically, most of these are run through Telegram or other encrypted chat programs where they do things like this. So this one in particular, they have a countdown going, and then when they get to 1, they call out a coin, everyone on the channel buys the coin, it skyrockets, and then as soon as it starts going up, you dump it. So plain as day pump and dump scam. Like, it's insane because that actually works. But the problem with these things though is unless you're on the inner circle, you're going to get screwed and you're going to end up holding the bags of all these other people who are on the inner circle, who got the word first, who already bought into the coins, and were ready to sell as soon as it started going up. So that's the thing, you have to have someone willing to buy, you know, when it's up there, for you to actually make profit. So these guys ride it up as everyone's dumping their money in and they're cashing out. So the way these groups work, so there's basically like the full inner circle, which these are the guys who organize it. They're usually called the whales. So they're guys with millions of dollars in crypto that they can shuffle around and move entire markets by themselves. Which is, it's like awesome and scary, you know? Like, the SEC is not involved in this yet. But that's the thing, like, it's full Wild West in terms of like internet money right now, which is kind of awesome. Then you have the paid inner circle. These are the guys that actually, you know, they put in probably a few Bitcoins in order to get into these circles and get to the actual inner information so they can be ahead of these pump and dumps. And then you have the inner circle, their friends and stuff, people that they know and shared with. We have the outer rim. These are the people that usually get scammed into joining these pump and dump groups. You have the outer rim and bag holders, like they're just done for. They're just losing money every time they trade these things. So be very cautious of single groups. So life-size list of people I trust, yeah. Especially in crypto. I mean, cryptocurrency, like 90% of the entire industry is like Ponzi schemes. So you have to be very cautious. Like, don't trust anything in this entire environment, really. Even me. I don't know why you guys are listening. But so there are some things you can do though to get ahead with trading and stuff like that more legitimately. So there's auto trading bots out there, which some of them are actually pretty cool. Like I've used Crypto Hopper. They actually do make pretty good amounts of money, assuming that you have enough to play with and your risk tolerance is very high. But you have to be very cautious of these because people know that people use trading bots and there are attacks against that, where they will spike coins, they'll do stuff in social media to trick the bots into making trades. There's a lot of ways to really manipulate the market still. So you have to be very comfortable with losing a lot of money if you're willing to take risks with using auto trading bots. So I started looking into a different way to do this. I wanted to make my own, because like Crypto Hopper is cool, but it's like $50 a month. So unless you're making more than that in your profit, it's not really worth it. So I wanted to try and do this for free, well, virtually free, my own servers and stuff. So I ended up writing some Python that just simply goes out to Twitter and using the Twitter API, and then I search for certain trending tags for certain coins, like whatever coins I want to follow. Usually I'll take like the top 100 or the bottom 100 or something like that, just to trend on them and see what the general consensus about these coins on the internet is. So then I take these, I actually send them to Google Cloud's natural language API, which is a legitimate use of their stuff. But so I send it through there and basically gauge emotion for the tweets that are coming through. So I extrapolate the tag and I associate that with positive or negative emotions based on what's being said. And then we also weight everything that's being said by who said it. Is it a high-profile account? Is it some no-name? Is it a scam? Like we have to, there's a lot of whitelisting and stuff like that to really flesh this out and make it kind of, you know, something you can actually use and profit from. So then I feed all that back into the script, and that's where we can actually start to extrapolate data from. So what this looks like, right over here, this is just using Google's natural language API. And up here, we're just analyzing this tweet, and you can see it gives us a little score. So 0.7, positive inference of this one. You can also get sentiments for each aspect of the tweet. So if you put in like something like a whole paragraph, it'll analyze the entire thing and break out all the different aspects of it based on what it gives the sentiment as. And so over here, this guy said some bad words. So it came in negative 0.8. So very negative, which is kind of cool because then you can trend that negative aspect too, which you'll see in a moment how this actually relates to trading. So here's kind of what it looks like live when we were just running raw tweets through this API. So up here, we're going to go ahead and run our script. So this is the tweet analytics script. And so what this is going to do is we're just pulling live tweets. It's a live, basically wireless from Twitter. That's tuned down a bit, like we cut out some scams and stuff like that. But you can see it's tracking the coin, the sentiment score, and then the overall magnitude. So we're just gathering this data. And the trick with this is the longer you let it run, the more valid the data is going to be. The more it's accurately going to represent the market and fluctuations in the market. So here's what it looks like when we're running it live. So over here you can see the coins we're tracking, the sentiment, magnitude, median sentiment, median magnitude, and then number of tweets analyzed. So you can also see how much chatter there is about these specific coins, which can weight your overall analysis in the end. So it's kind of fun to watch this. Like, if you plug in stuff like politics, it's crazy. There's no good stuff being said. And so, but what's weird, what I found weird in politics is everything evens out. So they may have tons of negative tweets, but in the end, the median score ends up being a 0 because there's so much fighting on the internet. You know, these keyboard warriors just going at it. So it's kind of interesting to watch this, you know, not just crypto, but just general kind of stuff on the internet. So the next step is actually make use of this data. So I started doing this within just like a spreadsheet, just putting the data out there, doing some pivot tables and stuff, and then I started messing with some online like jQuery kind of actual live graphing of the data, so pushing this into a database and tracking it over time. And ideally what I'd like to do eventually is tie this into some of the trading applications, like Shapeshift or Binance, so you can do automated trades based on what you're seeing within the market. But I want to make sure this actually works first before actually putting money in it. But what's kind of cool, so trending this over time, this is what it starts to look like. So you have the coins down here, they're all kind of color-coded, you can highlight them, and just see how this changes over time. And so what you're watching now is just running this for an entire day and just analyzing all of the traffic on Twitter to see positive and negative correlations. And so you can see some of these coins, like this one, you know, is very positive, this other one's very negative. They are different coins. I need to like cut this down so there's less colors.
Can you overlay the price?
Oh, you could. Yeah, I mean.
Then you can see if like the price, you spike and then the price spikes.
That's what I want to do
What's that
eventually.
spread?
And so right now it's manual, like just tracking the chatter. And so what I found interesting, why I highlighted this one, is so this was pretty much spiked for a long time that day. And that day it actually did go up significantly. The XLM was the coin. So kind of interesting, but it is something where I want to overlay exactly like you're saying and show that correlation directly. And so
How much time positive to, how much positive talk to like before the price goes up?
But that's the thing too, because the downside is this went up at the same time the price was up. So it's like, how do you do this proactively so you can predict that? And so that's what I'm still trying to figure out. But it's been a fun little project.
It's all like machine learning.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, hopefully if it works out, you know, you actually make some money again. With that, I think we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to go to my last section here. Unless you guys want to talk about some more sections. The whole thing is we only touched on a few aspects of like some of the just security kind of things with cryptocurrencies. We didn't even get into like the really fun stuff like smart contract attacks, honeypot wallets. There was a cool attack that happened, I want to say earlier this year. This guy set up a honeypot wallet that it was for some ERC20 token, which ERC20 is like built on Ethereum, so it's an Ethereum supporting token. Essentially, what they did, I forget the name of the token, but they put this all in a Ethereum wallet, and they posted their key to Twitter. They just posted their private key to Twitter, and as soon as this guy did that, all these people started trying to log into their wallet and steal the cryptocurrency he had. He had put like $5 grand or something in this wallet. So it was enough for people to be like, hey, I don't want to move this out of here. And so the funny thing with Ethereum, in order to transact and actually move coins, you have to have gas. So the wallet had no gas in it. So these people would gain access to the wallet, put gas in the wallet, and as soon as they did, the gas would rotate off to another wallet. So this guy was just hoping people would attack his wallet and was just stealing all the gas.
Wow.
He ended up making a ton of money. A lot more than the $5 grand he put in the wallet, and I think it's actually still up getting hacked right now. It's like, this guy's genius. But then there's also, so one of the aspects, we talked about the faucets on mobile, but there's a whole aspect to reversing mobile apps. Like these things have no security, like zero, even wallets and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of real cool stuff you can do when you just start looking at the code behind these mobile apps. seed busting, going out and guessing seed passwords and stuff. One of my friends wrote a script that just goes and he actually used this crypto miner to generate his seed list. And so just, it's like a terabyte or something, all these different phrases that can be used as seed phrases. And then private key collisions. You may hear the large Bitcoin collider. This thing's pretty crazy. These guys, so all day they just try to figure out private keys. And if they do, they all split the money from the wallets, which is super sketchy. But it's like a public project that's like somehow accepted because it's cryptocurrency. Exactly, this place is crazy. Browser-based mining via PowerShell. This is some stuff we've actually developed some rules around, looking at people, trying to pop miners through PowerShell for like HID attacks and stuff like that. It's pretty creative. There's so many ways to just sit there and passively mine cryptocurrency, especially if you're not, you don't have a proxy, you aren't blocking the stuff at your firewall, you aren't correlated with threatless. There's so many ways to mine just privately and discreetly behind the scenes, wallet hijacking, and a lot more. There's a lot more fun stuff. With that, thank you guys. If you want to see the other sections, I'd be glad to go do those as well. The other next session, I guess. So, if you guys have any questions or more concerns than the stuff I just talked about?
How much time do you dedicate to just crypto?
Not too much time. It's like, every now and then. Most of this stuff I just have like running, and then so I'll check in on it and stuff, but I'm trying not to spend a lot of time on it, because like the miner and stuff, when I built that was a big time sink, but it was fun.
So,
Expensive. Thanks, guys.